Hey everyone, this is Michael Giacchino, and you're listening to Across the Bifrost.
Whosoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Across the Bifrost. This is the Mighty Thor podcast, where on each and every episode, we explore the world of Marvel's Mighty Thor. I am one of your co-hosts, Ryan Doze, joined today by one other member of the Warriors 3. It's not Faz today. Will Rose is back, and Will Rose is here to start a series with us. Will, we're finally here.
We're here. We're there. And I would do my Faz impression, but I'm still working on it.
Yeah. You gotta, all your Canadian isms really have to get like worked out so it can be perfect when you break it out on the show.
I want to offend all of Canada when I do it. All of Canada wants to be offended.
If you offend all of Canada, they'll probably say sorry. So
yeah, right.
Yeah, you're probably good there. So everybody, today's the big one. We're finally starting Simonson Saga today. We are doing Simonson Saga number 1. We are talking all about Beta Ray Bill. So we're starting at Thor 337, going through Thor 340. And Will and I are not the only ones that are going to talk about these awesome comics today. We have brought back 2 fantastic guests who, I believe this is the third time they've been on the show. So we are welcoming Matt Howell and Jacob Balcom from Bronze Age Monsters back onto Across the Bifrost to talk about Walt Simonson's Thor. Fellas, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So I know I said Bronze Age Monsters because last time we were talking to the hosts of Werewolf by Night. So Matt, what's up with Bronze Age Monsters? What is it, and what are you guys currently doing over there on your show?
There was a transformation?
Yes, there was.
There's a transformation. Okay.
Full moon snuck up on us. We were Werewolf by Night podcast, and we were loving Jack Russell's adventures, and we ran out of sidewalk. So we could either keep going into the 90s or the 2000s, and we didn't like that idea. So we said, let's stay where we're really happy, and that is the 70s, weird 70s comics. So we rebranded ourselves as Bronze Age Monsters, and each season we're doing a different character for the most part. So this season we're doing Damon Hellstrom, the son of Satan. Yeah. And next season we're doing a Bronze Age buffet, just a bunch of different monster characters who kind of got a spotlight in a book for 4 or 5 issues and didn't take off, so they got canned. So it's kind of a buffet of different monsters. So yeah, each season it's going to be like that. So different focus, different themes, but it's all 70s weirdness.
Now, please tell me that one of the characters you're going to talk about in the buffet season, like you and I haven't talked about this, but I just is it the Colossus going to be? Oh, hell yeah.
Golem, Scarecrow, I think Brother Voodoo. It's all that kind of stuff.
I love it, the Colossus. It's almost unreadable, but I love it.
It's great.
You guys are a few episodes into Son of Satan right now. It's been a lot of Ghost Rider and a lot of Marvel Spotlight stuff. And I'm just curious, how have you guys found trying to handle a new character? Because you guys did werewolf stuff for 3 whole seasons. That's years that you were covering the same type of character.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been a good transition because, what Matt and I realized as we were going chronologically through Jack Russell's appearances is that we got into the 80s, we got into the early 90s, and we realized that was not the era we liked talking about. That was kind of when, by the early 90s, I had kind of left mainstream comics behind. I wasn't a fan of the art or the way stories really were told for the most part. There's some exceptions, but I think Matt can agree with me there. And I thought that we taking the chance to go back to the 70s, to the real Bronze Age, that's where our hearts are. That's where we have the most fun. That's where we think comics were the most fun in a lot of ways because the code had relaxed and had allowed all these newer things to happen. And just at the birth of any art or medium, the beginning is kind of the most exciting a lot of the time. So we're just happy to be back in the 70s.
I think it also is a good fit for us as well because that's kind of the first generation of kids that grew up reading comics started making them. So you have a lot of kids who are kind of young hippies in their early 20s who were taking some recreational drugs and had grown up reading Captain America and stuff. So having them go loose and just kind of have some lower tier books where no one had time to keep an eye on them is where a lot of the magic happens, accidentally, I think. But that's what I love.
Definitely in the Marvel horror line and that kind of stuff. It felt like the inmates were running the asylum.
Well, they were, because, and it was for a lot of reasons. I mean, just like Matt said, a lot of these kids were now hippies and they were writing comics, and also Marvel's titles they were printing each month just exploded. And so suddenly they're printing 60, 70 titles a month, and there just wasn't editorial oversight. So a lot of these monster books, I swear to God, they just weren't looked at all. They were just sent to the printer. Like someone just glanced at them, stamped them okay, and they were sent to the printer. So really weird shit kind of
send it along.
Yeah, and that's when the magic happens. And that's where that's what we love, and that's where we're focusing.
And then, meanwhile, little kid William is sitting in. My mom dropped me off at the spinner rack at the grocery store while she went grocery shopping and let me sit there and spin the spinner rack and grab all these comics off to watch and read and going, what is this? What's going on? So I'm thankful for that era too.
Will, as someone who is clergy, was Son of Satan a title that you picked up and you were allowed to read?
There was no, I guess 8-year-old William didn't have the foresight that one day he may be clergy. So what he did do is grab Fangoria, Sci-Fi magazine, and whatever comic had Marvel at the top. And I was flipping through those pages before Mom got back over to me, for sure.
Wow.
Love it.
You backpedaled hard away from that Son of Satan.
No, but I mean, there's definitely Ghost Rider and Son of Satan. Like I was a big X-Men head, so like anything that had any of the X-Men on, I was grabbing, guest starring or in any book. But if it had Marvel on it, I was flipping through it. That's fun. I'm not that familiar with Son of Satan, but that's where there's podcasts out there to do the work for me that I can listen to and learn. Like
Bronze Age Monsters this season, the Son of Satan. So we'll put a link in our episode description for that for you guys' show. And I always encourage people to go check out your show, because even if I knew nothing about Jack Russell when I started, but I knew nothing about John Jameson, the Star God, and yet that became some of the most enjoyable audio that I've ever and then got to become acquaintances with you guys and have you guys on the show. It's just been a lot of fun watching you guys go through all these different almost phases of the show. And I've definitely learned a lot, and we're going to learn a lot tonight about Walt Simonson's run of Thor. We're finally starting it, everybody. We've been talking about it for, I feel like, months now, but it's finally here. So we are going to the honors of giving us a synopsis of the first issue, Thor 337, goes to our guest, Jacob Balcom.
Yeah, so I'm glad. I mean, I think we've talked about this on a couple of the appearances I've made on this show, that this was my first issue of Thor.
What a first issue.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think I was 6 when this came out, and I saw it on the rack, and it's one of the most iconic covers of all time with Beta Ray Bill, smashing the title of the Mighty Thor. And it's just, I mean, I'm sure every little kid that saw this on a spinner rack just had to have it.
Yeah.
And I was really into mythology, and I think I had some mythology books even when I was really young. I was really into mythology and dinosaurs, like in kindergarten. But I honestly think this may have been my first experience just with the mythos of Thor, and so when I picked this up, I thought it was interesting because it took me a while, like going back and reading later runs of Thor. Like from this issue, what I got from it as a 6-year-old kid, I'm just like, oh well, I guess just Thor is different people. Like sometimes it's this guy who's blonde, and sometimes it's this weird horse alien, and that's just how Thor is. And so I never I never shook that. I just Odin's son is not my first Thor, really. He's shown first in this
crazy
issue. But I associated it much more with Beta Ray Bill as a kid. I related more to Beta Ray Bill. I just thought he was cool looking. I mean, right off the bat, what a weird design.
Oh,
like
truly.
Like, who could? I mean, only from the great mind of Walt Simonson can this horse alien, like if you're, I can imagine him like trying to just pitch it, just with words to whoever was editing and without showing them, and it doesn't make any sense. You're just like, okay, he's like kind of a jacked like horse who's a guy, but he's an alien, and
Imagine
he's going to
a
be the new
steroids.
Yeah, actually, it's so weird. And yeah, I mean, if I'm correct, I think the editor-in-chief on these issues is Jim Shooter. And Jim Shooter, Matt and I have gone on record on our show, like we're not Shooter apologists, but a little bit. Like people vilify Shooter for a lot of really good reasons. A lot of artists hated him. A lot of artists left the company when he started. But Matt and I kind of agree that a lot of things happened under Shooter's watch that may not have been able to happen previously. He allowed characters to die. He allowed Thor to become a horse alien, and just all these things that I don't know. I don't know if previous editors would have let that fly. So I think that everything was right about now. The pot was perfectly stirred. You had Shooter, you had Simonson taking over Thor. This is the first issue that he's writing and drawing. He had drawn a run before written by Len Wein, I think in the late 70s. And it's okay. It's funny. It's not as memorable. A lot of people who love the Simonson run that we're going to be talking about don't really sometimes even forget that Simonson did, I don't know, 15, 20 issues of Thor.
What I think, we talked about this a little bit before we hit record. What I think those issues lack is Simonson's distinctive style.
Yeah.
And his vibe. Like there's no, if you read those, if someone were to go back and, after reading Simonson's Thor, his Fantastic Four, or something that he's very like iconic with, you'd go back to those Thor issues and be like, what? Like, you sure Walt Simonson did this?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you sure? Yeah. So going back, like, it's not required reading. But it's just kind of I was telling you guys, like, it's just like a little trivia fact. That 337 was not his first issue on Thor, but he's really like at the creative helm finally.
Yeah, well, this is his auteur moment. I mean, he's writing, he's penciling, he's inking, and he's together with a great team for these first few issues, which is John Workman is one of the greatest letterers of all time. I mean, you can take the work that he did on Simonson's run, and he's the letterer throughout the entire thing.
Right.
I think he does every single issue.
I believe you're correct. Yeah.
It's so baked into why this run is amazing. And we get George Rousseau, that Matt and I are very familiar with. He's an incredible colorist, started out as a Golden Age artist, penciler, but he took over coloring for Marvel. I think in around 73, he took over from Marie Severin as the head of coloring. And he's just, he is amazing. So the creative team on this, just everything about this issue really, really spoke to me as a little kid. And it was my first exposure to Walt Simonson, for sure. I'll give a quick bio of Simonson.
Yeah.
Like
Jacob, real fast. Yeah. Do you still have that comic, the comic you bought off the rack? Do you have it somewhere?
Still have it? I don't have this one. I have the original one. Ryan, you showed us before we recorded the second appearance. I still have my childhood copy of that. I don't have the I don't have the original one. I don't know what I did with that one. But
okay. Yeah.
But
did you make it a Roy Thomas collage?
I would bind that stuff. I would bind that in a heartbeat. I don't care how much it's worth.
Yeah.
But I mean, Simonson, going back, I guess his first comic credit was he penciled a story by Len Wein in Weird War Tales, number 10 in 1973. It was a really cool anthology series that DC did that Matt and I are huge fans of. It's just just kind of what you said. It's like supernatural war stories. It's like a marriage between a horror comic book and a war comic, and it's really, really great. But later that year, he kind of became super famous in the industry for doing a backup story in Detective Comics, and it was written by Archie Goodwin. It's called Manhunter, and I don't know if you guys have read that. Matt, I think you've read Manhunter.
You gave it to me as a gift.
Yeah, that's right. Because it's one of those comics. I don't know if you guys have this with like comics or books, to where it's one of your favorite things, and you end up giving your copy away so many times, and then you just start ending up buying extra copies. And so that's what I did with Matt. I had one of my extra copies, and I'm just like, nope, Matt needs to read this. So Manhunter was kind of it started out. I think Simon and Kirby created the character in the Golden Age, and he was very boring. It's not a great creation, but Archie Goodwin and Walt Simonson turned him into this hyper violent, like dark vigilante clone figure. And it was a backup and detective. It's real short. It was like 6 issues, 6 like 8-page stories. And it won every award. It put Archie Goodwin's already a Titan by that point. But Manhunter put Simonson on the map. Like, people took him very seriously after that, and they should. And it's a crazy story. Like it's pretty famous, but the character dies at the end. Like, they just kill the character off, which is something that was not done a ton in comics. I was trying to think. Like, I think before that, like the original Doom Patrol by Arnold Drake. I think they killed them off. Killed the entire team off on the last issue. I think that was done in the late 60s. But yeah, not something that's done a whole lot. But I thought that was such a cool thing. But of course, it's comics. So guess what? He comes back.
Oh no! Didn't see that coming.
Wow. Yeah, exactly. Not by Simonson and Goodwin. I don't think they liked that. But yeah, later on, he would.
So definitely, if you're looking for Simonson, exterior stuff outside of Thor, Manhunter is where you'd kind of start his trajectory up.
Absolutely. I mean, I think everyone who is interested in comics, especially 70s comics, should read Manhunter. It might be one of the best mainstream 70s comics ever produced. And wow! So everyone should have it in their collection. Well, Walt moved on after that to like he Rampaging Hulk, Battlestar Galactica, Star Wars. He did a little Thor run, but I think this was his big act. Like writing and drawing this first issue of Thor and his entire run. I mean, this is what he's most well known for. And he did a lot of great stuff to this day. Yeah. I mean, this is something that is. This is on people's top 3 all-time runs. It's on everyone's radar. This is considered some of the greatest comics ever produced.
Yeah. So it's funny you say that, because last year we did Jason Aaron and his run on Thor, and we did that one because it's my quintessential on ramp to comics. Mm-hmm. And that was one that I wanted to do. Simonson was one that I felt we needed to do. Where it's quintessential. It must be done. I can't put Thor on the masthead of my podcast and not talk about Walt Simonson.
I feel like just from these 4 issues, I've said this on previous appearances, I'm not the biggest Thor reader. I feel like from reading these, I would not hesitate to say Eisnerian in its achievement.
Yes.
What goes on here.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron's run is no slouch. I mean, Aaron is absolutely the second best Thor writer of all time. Like, I don't think there's any question about that.
And I don't want to derail anything, but just I wanted to know, I did not realize this until you were speaking, Jacob, and I was clicking around in this pirate comics site I'm on. I did check this out from the library as well, but I'm just doing a lazy reference on the air. That on this issue of this cover we're starting this with, Beta Ray Bill is smashing the Thor logo.
Yes.
And that is the old 60s Thor logo, and that was the one up until this moment. And the one that is iconic one to issue starts the next issue. I had no idea he was being that bold. And I mean, that's a BC AD distinction as far as I can tell.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And like we said, like the vibe completely changes. I have read the run leading up to this. Like it's a lot of Len Wein stuff. The artist changed like every 2-3 issues. It's not cohesive at all. I mean, like one issue Thor's fighting Dracula, and the next one he's doing dating drama with Sif again. Like it's not, there's no overarching
cohesive.
Does he fight Son of Satan? Does he fight Son of Satan?
No, that would have actually been entertaining.
Dracula.
Three. I mean, yeah, Dracula.
Damn, somebody's damned.
Somebody's damned.
Issue 336 is one of my least favorite Thor comics. It is such a downer, and if you didn't know that Simonson was coming after it, it'd be like, well, I can stop getting this book. But then 337 comes, and like you guys are saying, the whole game changes. And Thor, being a pretty middle of the road, if not below average Marvel book for a long time, gets turned on its head, because most of, after Kirby and Lee left, after Buscema left, until Walt comes there, there's about almost 100 issues in there that's very forgettable.
That's a long slump.
That's a long like that's not a sophomore slump. That's like
10
the rest
years
of high school and into your bachelor's degree slump.
Yeah, it's not good. And you're right. They're more, I mean, they're absolutely forgettable. I don't know why anyone would read them.
Eventually we'll do it. Eventually we will, because we're masochists. But Jacob, do you want to kind of give listeners like a synopsis of this issue, and then we can kind of bat the ball around?
Yeah,
well,
definitely.
real fast. Like we're getting ready. We're going to talk not too long from now about Daniel Warren Johnson's Beta Ray Bill and that graphic novel. In the back of that graphic novel, there's an interview between him and Walt Simonson, and Daniel Warren Johnson asks him, what was your inspiration for this story, Beta Ray Bill? And he basically answers like, I just wanted to tell a different story. I want to do something new, something that hasn't been told before. And the idea of like somebody else picking up Thor's hammer, like just stuck in his head for all those years. And he goes, I just wanted to do something new. So as you talk about like the 100 issues before this one about becoming really stale and forgettable, like boom, he really does come out of the gate and tell a different kind of story, and people took notice, and it wasn't, Thor was never the same since that. So it's interesting reading that interview, and then you guys talk about the backstory of him leading up, that he really was starting something brand new and wanted to tell a different story, and he did.
Yeah, spectacular. Let's tell that story then.
Yeah, so I mean, the first couple pages of this are just they're just some of my favorite pages of comics, and again, just reading this as a little kid, I'm just going to read the narration on the first one. It's these 4 panels that are these vertical panels of just this fire and space, and it says, far beyond the fields we know, the core of an ancient galaxy explodes, and a molten ingot of star stuff is left behind, but not left alone. And then, yeah, as a little kid, I'm reading these pages, just being like, oh my God, there's this giant fire demon who's bigger than planets, and is forging something. And yeah, especially even just I think it's just a couple pages in, at the end of this sequence, we get one of the great John Workman. The way that he letters sound effects is just like no one else. And there's this giant doom that happens at the bottom of that page, and this is one of the greatest intros to a run of comics. Like it's bigger than epic, and that's what drew me in. And that's, every time I read this, I relive that, because it just captivated me when I read this as a child. And then, yeah, we're introduced to this, this blonde guy. We're introduced to Thor. I was just like, who's this guy? I was just like, this is crazy. And then, yeah, he's kind of kidnapped by Nick Fury, and yeah, he finally does become Thor, which I was just like, oh, okay, so this guy is Thor, I guess. And we meet other characters throughout this that Thor readers would be very familiar with, like Sif and Warriors 3 and all these other people. And then kind of towards the end, really, I mean, well, no, I guess in the middle, we're introduced to Loki, and I love how Simonson draws Loki.
Fantastic.
Like, it's so good. It's not, Loki, the depictions of Loki can really go, they can get too cartoony.
Very easily.
Yeah, really easily. And I think that minimizes the threat that you're supposed to feel with Loki.
Right.
And Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's just a phenomenal issue. And Thor ends up aboard an alien ship, and this is when he meets Beta Ray Bill,
Ooh.
who has such a cool, like, I loved his original like spacesuit in this.
Yeah.
Like it was just
Yeah.
it was so cool. And yeah, his intro I love so much. When we first see him, he says, "Rise up, demon, you have pursued me only to find death. And when I am through with you, you will welcome it. I am called Bill, Beta Ray Bill." And such a great intro. So yeah, they battle in space in the spaceship, and then yeah, Thor turns back into lame Dr. Blake, gets beaten by Beta Ray Bill. Beta Ray Bill ends up picking up Thor's stick. He says, "What's this? A stick? The hammer has vanished." And then he ends up hitting it. That's such a great line. He ends up hitting it against the wall, and then suddenly he becomes Thor. So yeah, this is the seismic shift, right? This is something that is just that just hasn't happened exactly like this ever before. And so yeah, after this happens, yeah, we just kind of Fury starts to engage, but then the great thing that happens is that Odin shows up at the end.
Yes.
And he's just like, oh, I like how Odin, like, I think he's got one eye. I get it. Like maybe he didn't look closely
it's not his son
enough. He's just like, "Oh, Thor, my son, we have urgent need of thee in Asgard. I must call thee home." But he's not paying attention. He's a bit of it. We know he's a deadbeat dad anyways. And so yeah, he's just like, "Okay, come on, let's go. You're in the Thor costume. You must be my son.
Must be my son."
Yeah, and he leaves his son behind. And so Thor is in the rain. He's just like, "Father, hear me, Father," at the end.
It's
and
the
then
best last panel.
Oh, it's such a
love
great last page. And yeah, the final narration, "But the lashing storm does not listen, and only the wind and rain reply." And yeah, it is it's such a cool first issue.
It really does. It reiterates what we've been saying, kind of the whole preamble, and it's that the vibe is changing, and we're not, Thor is not gonna just punch and throw the hammer enough to beat all these things. Like literally, someone gets his power in this episode, or in this issue, and Walt changes the game, but Matt, Will, do you guys have any thoughts on this first huge issue?
Yeah, I painted it in very broad strokes. So
there's a lot in here.
There's a lot in here. So I figured you guys would definitely say your favorite parts.
I could just say from that opening, Jacob, that cosmic forge, or whatever that was going on, those first 3 pages, Kirby-esque, kind of Ditko-esque, Cosmos, and the language that was going on, you can feel immediately for that first Doom, I knew, reading this for the first time, this is like talking about the spider in Fearful Symmetry. Like someone's telling a bigger tale here. They have a plan, and they've established a motif that is going to play out through this whole thing. And it sure as heck did. So I could already tell by that Doom that we were in good hands, and something epic and magical was about to start. And it sure enough did.
Yeah, I love the callbacks to the original origin story of Thor way back when, is because I love that, like, oh, what's this, a stick? I'm just going to pick it up and hit it against something, and maybe something will happen. That's pretty much how Donald Blake became Thor anyway, way back when. Oh, what's this, a stick? I might as well pick this up and strike it down, and oh gosh, I'm a Norse god now. But like the same kind of thing there of like Beta Ray Bill seeing his stick and picking up. But this came out in 1983, so this is at the height of the resurgence of sci-fi with Star Wars, with Battlestar Galactica, some works that as we said, Walt Simonson had worked on before, and so he's bringing this kind of like space fantasy, odyssey, opera, to play here within this Thor book, and even the MCU plays around with this kind of, are they Norse gods or are they aliens from an advanced civilization? This kind of sci-fi emergence of the two, and so it's all there in that comic, and you can really see it play out. It's great.
I also like that he's doing such a big thing here by letting someone else be worthy to wield the mallet. Like, and it is someone from another galaxy or something that we're not even familiar with. So he is kind of establishing that this is some other people have tried to pick this up. Other people have tried to do this. None have been worthy so far, but here is this guy. And so that immediately makes you interested. Like, well, wow, what is his story? How is he worthy?
Story? Maybe we'll find out in the next one. Who knows? We might find his backstory. But even like Fury shows up in the flying car, and you're like, oh, that's cool. Very dynamic red flying car that's been around, but still like something came up on our radar. We need you to take a look at. There's some threat coming our way, and it's like, what could this be hurling towards Earth? This alien or destruction? What's happening? Thor, we need you to go investigate. And in that investigation, is he discovers, and it's that classic kind of Marvel. We're not going to talk first. We're just going to fight, and then we'll figure out who each other is later on down the road.
Speaking of Nick Fury, I do love that when Beta Ray Bill's ship is hurtling towards Earth, Nick Fury's only response is, "We'll figure this out later. Open fire."
Yeah.
Hold on.
So great.
Don't want to just like maybe ask a question first to figure something out. No. Yeah. Blow that shit out of the sky.
And we never do that now. Like, we would definitely ask questions.
We're so much more methodical and thought.
We would not blow something up first, then investigate it when it falls to the ground. Like, we do something else.
Another thing I really love about this, that is through this whole 4 issues, is that he's balancing that kind of sci-fi, otherworld, fantasy thing you're talking about, with being grounded in really hard and true Norse mythology, where Volstagg is telling the story and calling back Baldur's history. It's like
the mistletoe era,
weaving the best of all the Thor stuff, like the comics, the real stuff, everything together to make this it's a perfect balance of everything.
Well, and Simonson really had, I mean, he's gone on record many interviews and saying that, Thor were some of his first comics, and he was obsessed with Thor as a kid. So he knew all the mythology. He knew everything that Thor had done at Marvel. So he's just had all this in the back of his brain, just stewing. And so now he's finally able to, now that he's writing the title, he's finally able to marry all of that together.
It is great that most of the artists or creators that have made the most indelible mark on Thor have been passionate about the character's roots. Because like it's noted that Jack Kirby did some of his best work in those Tales of Asgard backup stories. And those are all just mythological they're comic book retellings of his mythological roots. And the Tales of Asgard is so good, and that's like where Kirby, I feel like, really flexes his muscles on that Thor book. Not like the A stories are always great, I
are they though? Because I know it's a hot take. I know it is.
I'm a little biased.
I understand, but those Tales of Asgard are just so much better than the A story on so many issues.
let me rephrase. The best or the greatest like issues of the A stories will pale in comparison to the Tales of Asgard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they're so succinct, they're so well told. Usually the artwork kind of like takes a bump up in those, and I think that Simonson and Kirby are very alike in that their love of the heritage of the character bleeds onto the page, and you really feel that sense of care. But then what Matt said is he's also aboard a giant space warship, and I don't remember that in the prose. So I love this amalgamation of just all this weird stuff, and Simonson makes it so seamless, and it's so enjoyable.
Yeah, well, he's been drawing. He drew a lot of spaceships in the last 7 or 8 years. He worked on Star Wars. He worked on Battlestar Galactica, and he's great at drawing spaceships.
Yes, and Scuttlebutt has got a very distinct name. And also, I just Scuttlebutt. It's so, but it's also got a kind of a distinct design to it. It's very narrow. It almost does look like a
weapon.
It looks like a big gun. Which we're gonna next week when we talk about Daniel Warren Johnson's Beta Ray Bill. He does something with that idea where he turns Scuttlebutt into a very unique weapon. So.
Remind me, the scuttlebutt, is that like a naval term for like the 411, the down low, the skinny?
Yeah,
I thought, well, yeah, I
it's a
think
Navy
so.
term.
Like what's the
Yeah,
word on
I
the
looked
street?
it up. I looked it up. It's kind of like the rumor. What's the word on the street? What's
Yeah.
the scuttlebutt?
Yes.
But it was
Word on the
also a
street.
slang term for like the water cooler on the ship. So that's like where
Oh.
they can.
Oh,
would
so that's
go
where they
there
would
like
exchange.
a latrine. They would go to the water cooler and have a drink, and then what's the scuttlebutt? They'll go down to the scuttlebutt, have a drink, and then talk. So that, yeah, I had to look it up. I was like, I know I've heard that
with the
somewhere, and
pull.
I had to go look that word up. It's a good one.
So, guys, is there anything else? I know 337 is kind of a pinnacle issue, but we do have 3 other great issues we want to get to. Is there anything else from 337 that we would be remiss? Yes, Matt.
I just want to say there's so much work
I
in
love
this.
that you raised your hand, by the
Well,
way.
I was a teacher. There are so many, like the first 3 pages, again, I can't harp on that too much, but there's so many, all the splash pages are museum ready works, in my opinion. But I just want to if I take one out of context thing that is more of just a grittier kind of street level thing,
Yes.
that I love the panel when Beta Ray Bill is punching through his crystal coffin and grabbing Thor by the face, and you just see that John Byrne terrified eye between the fingers. That's so exciting to me. That's all. I just wanted to mention it.
It's like weirdly like it's like a sci-fi horror. Like what is
Yeah,
this?
totally.
Oh man. Will Rose has
Okay.
our next issue. It's Thor 338, the second
really
appearance of Beta Ray Bill.
really
What if just
fought.
every issue was just like, oh, the 3rd appearance of Beta Ray Bill, the 4th appearance?
There's a second. No, here we get a story, but I've really fought the joke because I don't want Ryan to roll his eyes too much. It's like Beta
Oh, I will.
Ray Will is getting ready to talk about
Oh,
Bill. So here we go. Yep.
damn it!
Bill.
Why didn't I
I know.
could have had that one ready to go. Will.
I know. Well, I mean, here again, this cover is another iconic cover because they're like arm wrestling on the cover with the inscription on the hammer, just clear that like whoever's worthy to pick up this hammer is Thor. And so we saw the last issue of somebody picked it up and was swept away by Odin. Again, not paying attention, just anybody holding a hammer that has like, a somewhat Thor costume. But we ended like with Donald Blake just hanging out by himself in the storm, crying, where's my dad? And then it is again, you go back. Yeah, he's
Odin, could you come to customer service? Your son is lost.
Your son is lost. And so we pick up with that with like he's standing there like screaming in the wind and he's like lost without his hammer. And again, we've seen this over again. You don't have your hammer, at least in modern day comics and what Jason Aaron did and others, if he doesn't have his hammer and he's not worried, then who is he? His whole identity just was swept away. And then we flash back to Asgard where Beta Ray Bill is there hanging out. And the first thing he says is back demons. He's calling everybody demons, doesn't know who they are. He's swinging his hammer. Back demon, it must be you who was there to come slay my people. I might save my people. And then they're like, well, they finally wake up. Odin's like, oh, where's Thor? And he's like, who? What are you talking about? I don't know who that is. All I know is that I won this hammer fair in battle, so it must be mine. And so but there boom, Odin brings Thor back like that, and immediately Thor is brought back. He's in his costume, but it's so funny because you have this like exchange of like father son touching each other's shoulders, gazing each other's eyes, and there's this kind of father son bond, and it's there this inner monologue of like Beta Ray Bill's like, oh, they must not be demons. There's like this bond of love between father and son. They must not be that bad. And then they start talking about like who could wield the hammer or not. Meanwhile, we flash back over and Loki's messing with Sif. That's all we need to know. Loki is messing with Sif.
Something he's known to do.
He's known to do. And then boom, okay, we're back to Beta Ray Bill. We just needed this like, this is what Loki's up to. And then we get this backstory of Beta Ray Bill. Who is Beta Ray Bill? Well, we're getting ready to find out. He tells his story of who he is, this ancient, kind of noble alien race. Their galaxy, the core of their galaxy exploded. So we have this kind of Krypton, Superman kind of universe dying kind of story. He's chosen to be like this, like Moses figure to lead his people out in Exodus, and then he's changed into a super weapon. We have Bionic Bill, who's going to do that. The ships are on the run, and so you have like this Battlestar Galactica like scene of all the ships. So you have this thing of like Krypton, and Exodus, and
Lots of sci-fi
Battlestar
tropes.
Yeah, lots of sci-fi
pastiche.
and then he does name like we get the first, like I guess now is when we first hear like him call like Scuttlebutt. Is this the first time we find out the name of the ship that
it's his Scuttle Buddy?
Yeah, I think it might have come up in the first. I'm not sure.
I thought it was, yeah.
But then he starts talking about like them really looking for sanctuary and trying to save his people. But now I have this hammer. So now I have this ultimate weapon. So man, I'm going to go save my people. I have it. It's mine. And they're like, what? No, you must fight. And so this fatherly love between Thor and Odin, they're now like, well, now you can fight to the death. That's how much I love you.
Can I ask a question?
To the death. Yeah.
Can I ask a question at this point? What Thor has a point here though. There's a niggling, small print thing where he's like, but you didn't beat Thor. What is the thing? He was separated from his hammer within Earth's orbit sphere. So he became Donald Blake briefly, and that's when he got the upper hand, right? So it's like, you didn't really beat Thor.
No,
it's an asterisk win.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the small caveat that creates the conflict.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They both have claims
several times.
Oh yeah. No, he's not going to let him forget that.
It kind of feels like he's tattling to teacher about it.
Yeah.
Well, now that they're going to go fight.
I wasn't holding my staff at the time, so technically
I wasn't a god. Technically, I wasn't a Norse god at that point.
This feels like a recess argument.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to clear that because I wasn't quite sure how the enchantment worked with these sticks / hammer in Donald Blake's form. So thank you.
Fantastic. When I go walk in the woods tomorrow, I'm going to pick up every stick and slam it down and see what happens. But
as you should.
Crazy man of the Chapel Hill Woods is back.
That's right. Oh, he's back trying to become Thor again. There's Pastor Will trying to become a Norse god again in the woods. No, but then but then they're sent off to have this battle on Mustafar. I mean, in this lava land where they're going to do that. So and they do. Yeah, they have a fantastic battle, and there's this inner monologue that Thor is having that if he loses, then who's going to protect Earth? So not only is he like trying to get his hammer back, but he's like, man, I may not win this, and if not, who's gonna protect Midgard? And so that's what's going on with his inner dialogue and dilemma of what's going on here. But then eventually he is beaten down, but not to the death, because Beta Ray Bill kind of has mercy. He is brave. I'm just going to bring him back to his dad. He laid at his dad's feet. And so that's kind of where it ends.
Yeah, but I love that he ends it by I love his last speech to Odin. He says, "Lord Odin, your son yet lives, the finest foe I've ever fought, but I have bested him. The hammer is mine."
Yeah.
So I love Beta Ray Bill, man. He comes out hot.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
There's a line. One of my favorite lines in this. As guys, I forgot how awesome it is just to read like an older single issue. The smell.
I saw you taking a hit off of that.
It's the closest thing to drugs that I take.
Yeah, it's an addictive thing.
It's
old newsprint.
It definitely gives you a rush, a nostalgia rush.
Gosh. I love when Beta Ray Bill is in the middle of the fight and he says, "Though I do grieve to do this deed, your own father has commanded it." And then he just rubs salt in the wound. He's like, "His will be done." What a douche.
I like that Thor just actually picks up just a rock and manages to completely take off the face of a cliff over lava with it. I mean, he's not weak either, right? They're both holding their own here.
Yeah.
It's really is a great fight. And I love that like the trash talk is so like it's back and forth, and it's kind of it's not as hokey and campy as some of the older like fights, because even Thor does this all the time. Like most superhero comics back in the 60s, 70s, all this time is there's a banter going on.
Yeah.
And not everybody can be Peter Parker with their banter. And Thor's banter often just comes back to like, well, I'm still gonna beat you. Like,
Yeah.
no matter what you say, I'm still going to beat you. This one, I feel like Beta Ray Bill gets all the good lines here.
Yeah.
And he
They
finally
didn't say Goldilocks once. They kept it all very on the up and up. It's classy.
Yeah.
That's when you know it's good, when he doesn't resort to the easy stuff.
Well, he's not from Earth, so he doesn't know that fairy tale.
You know
That's
what?
right.
Yeah.
What is the Corbinite version of Goldilocks?
Yeah.
Oh man,
I really like that we don't in that origin story, that page, that we don't actually see what the species look like. You see them kind of from behind as they're fashioning a hero to protect her, but we don't actually see what his people are like. You only see him as a product, and you know that he is a monstrosity by choice. He chose to do this to save his people. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So on that note, Matt, there is a piece of Walt Simonson work I would recommend people go check out. In the last year, in the Thor 750 anniversary issue, they did the big, all the old creative teams, of the still living creators that have worked on Thor. They come back, and Simonson gets this opportunity to tell more of an in-depth story about Beta Ray Bill's transformation from from being a normal Corbinite. He actually at one point he talks about there's a line in this issue where he says, our scientists took the most ferocious carnivore of our empire and bioengineered it to produce a warrior of surpassing skill and strength. In that Simonson mini story, a small story in Thor 750, you actually get to see Beta Ray Bill fight that carnivorous beast. And it's a really cool story. And the story ends where this comic picks up, where you see Beta Ray Bill on the observation deck of his ship, and he's like, okay, we're off on an adventure.
Oh, cool. I'll read that for sure.
Kind of like a prelude, but we already know some of the facts, but it's just kind of Walt expanding upon the origin of Beta Ray Bill. So if you want to go check out more Beta Ray Bill stuff, Simonson expands on the origin in the Thor 750 issue that came out last year. But
I love it. I would love to.
Little addition there. But wow. Anything else on Thor 338, the second appearance of Beta Ray Bill?
His backstory, I do like it, because in the 80s I was reading Uncanny X-Men with Chris Claremont, and he was a master at weaving different stories. You had like plot A, and then you had like plot B and C that he would interweave these kind of side stories as you move along. And so I think here Simonson's doing similar in the fact that you have like the main with Beta Ray Bill and Thor and their big fight, and that's the headline story. But then you have these backstories of what's going on in Asgard, what's going on with Volstagg, what's going on with Sif and Loki, kind of interweaved this drama throughout. So that kind of like these plot line B is happening along with it. And I think that was kind of a tale of 80s comics as well. That's really well done. It's not just the main story, but a lot of stuff going on.
But it seemed like he excels at it. I mean, this is 83 and all, and I know that, like you're saying, the masters are going to start rising here and elevating the comics form and start interweaving things to have it be an unbroken story. But like this really felt like he was seeding future things, and it doesn't have that stop-start lurch that a lot of 1 or 2 part stories did, where it's just kind of like, oh, there's a shadowy guy in the alley. Maybe that'll come up later. I might, if I don't forget about it. Like it's just these really kind of lazy things you would just inject into things to give you a writing point later. But this felt like he was actually like laying stuff out.
Because like a few of the, like Will was saying, a few of the not A plots, like Loki and Lorelei, that's not paid off by the end of this. It's not paid off for a long time. The Volstagg and Balder stuff. Balder is actually a big deal in Simonson's run. At some point in a little further on, and we're actually going to cover this on the Simonson saga, Balder gets his own miniseries.
I remember the spinner rack. We're seeing it on there.
And like we're going to learn more about his complicated relationship with Carnilla, and like we're going to get a lot of Balder in this. Which maybe if you're a modern fan or maybe you're a movie fan, you don't know a lot about Balder the Brave. He's a big deal in this arc, and we're starting off kind of like with a slow introduction of him having come back from the after, he's come back from the afterlife. But those storylines don't get paid off at the end of 340. It's not like we're writing for the trade here. There's a lot that's being interwoven here, and a lot of great stories are just, because I know how these stories pay off, because I've at least given an overview of where these storylines go, and a lot of these storylines take a while. Like the Doom thing with the sword and the guy that we're not going to mention yet, but that gets paid off in like 15 issues.
That's cool. I think Matt brought up a good point. Like now, and I think this has been a lot of criticism, even a lot of writers have, of modern comics, is that you're writing arcs that are going to fit into a trade. And that's the issues that you're writing these stories in, so they can be easily fit into a trade or a collection and sold. Will, you were talking about Claremont's Uncanny X-Men. I mean, is there a more epic story? Some things don't pay off for 40 issues. It's like he's writing something that is grandiose in scale, and that's kind of what Simonson is doing with this. I mean, who knows how many of these beats he had planned. I'm not saying he had everything planned, but he had a lot of it planned. A lot of this shit doesn't pay off for a long time, and that just makes the story all the richer.
Yeah, and I also love that he doesn't have like this kind of one-dimensionality of heroism or whatever. Like it's not this male, whatever form. Like he introduces Balder, this hero who has come back from the afterlife, and he's broken. I mean,
he doesn't want to fight. What's nothing to do with it.
That's a pretty bold way to introduce a hero in a comic book meant for teenage boys.
Yeah. And also Balder doesn't tell his own story. Volstagg tells his story.
Does. To unwilling audiences.
Listeners of this show know Volstagg is my guy. I love Volstagg for so many different reasons, but he's telling Balder's story to a young warrior from Vanaheim, who this young brash warrior showed up, was like, I want to fight Balder because Balder's the best. And Volstagg's like, no, you don't. And also, Balder wants nothing to do with you or any other fighting. So here's 3 issues of reasons why you're not going to get to fight Balder.
I don't know. Ryan, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Simonson's version of Volstagg has so much. He's not just comic relief. He has so much heart and wisdom, and he's just such a richer character. I don't think. I'm not saying he was one-dimensional before this, but I don't think anyone really understood him until Simonson.
I think that what I've noticed from Simonson's version of Volstagg, and I'm sure we'll get into this with critiques of Hogan and Sif and Fandral and Heimdall and all the kind of secondary, tertiary characters, is they stop becoming like Volstagg stopped being a shtick. Like it stopped being a gimmick. And Volstagg felt like a fleshed out character. Even in the 4 issues we're covering today, like that's the Volstagg I love. Is he's got pathos to him. He has a purpose. And that's something that, like, honestly, the version of Volstagg I fell in love with first was Jason Aaron's Volstagg. And Jason Aaron's Volstagg is very similar to this, where he's taking care of Jane Foster while she has cancer, and he's the only one that knows that Jane is going through chemo treatment. And Volstagg is there at her bedside every time. And just walking with a friend through the worst experience of her life. And I was like, oh, I love this character. And it wasn't until later that I kind of like, I read the hokey, like, I'm the Lion of Asgard, that Volstagg, which I still enjoy that Volstagg.
Yeah.
But Simonson added this depth to a character that I don't think many writers would have chosen to add depth to. Because it shows.
I don't know. It just shows how much he understands these characters. Like they're all new. Like no one had done this before with these characters. It's like that he's lived with them, obviously, since he was a kid, and he's just thought about them so much. That, just out of the gate, he's transformed every single character that has had precedent in Thor.
Totally agree.
And they're all their best version.
Guys, do we have anything else to add about 338? If not,
Time for a commercial break.
We are going to, like Matt said, we're gonna take a brief break. We're gonna share with you kind of what we got going on Patreon. A lot of great stuff happening over there. We got some fun bonus episodes, and you know what? I'll let me tell you about it in the intermission, and we'll come back on the other side when Matt Howell is going to do Thor 339 and bring us even closer to the culmination of the Ballad of Beta Ray Bill. Okay, everyone, we're going to take a brief time out here from our Ballad of Beta Ray Bill to remind you that we have a Patreon. For just a few bucks a month, you can join the Thor Corps. We have a link in the episode description that you can click and join today with. You join a Thor Corps that is made up of individuals such as Will, Joshua, Eric B., Phil, Drew, Trip, Haley, Joseph, Jason, and Eric T. All of those individuals are amazing Thor Corps members. They support the show at that next level. For a few bucks a month, they get a bunch of bonus episodes. The bonus episode that we're going to be putting up this week is more Beta Ray Bill. So if you've been enjoying the Beta Ray Bill that we're talking about today with the first episode of SIMONSON Saga, we are going to be doing Beta Ray Bill God Hunter, which was a recent, in the last 10 years, mini-series by Kieran Gillen. Fantastic bonus episode that we have planned for you where Galactus is up to no good and Beta Ray Bill is going to put the hammer down. So that is what we've got coming for you this week on the Patreon for Thor Corps. So go join for a few bucks a month, support the show, and we would love to have you over there and join these awesome members that are already doing that on our Patreon. So thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of this first edition of our SIMONSON Saga, talking all about Beta Ray Bill.
So the Mighty Thor 339. I just want to say again, I love the new logo that Simonson worked up here.
So good.
Is it still in use? Probably not, but
No.
it was up. It was up through like 2000 because I remember like when Jurgens or somebody was doing Thor After Heroes Were Born, it was still in use.
Yeah, they well even Aaron used it for a while, and even I think Donnie Cates is currently using a version of it.
Oh, that's cool.
So this one is the one. Like if they're going to use an older logo, this is the one that gets used. They don't really go back to the original one ever. So
I love the original one, but it's very 60s.
Yeah.
it kind of
Very
reminds
early
me of the
60s.
Flintstones. I don't know why, but it just
Definitely.
It's nostalgic and comforting, but this one is mighty and powerful. So I think it's a better fit.
Totally agreed.
So this is something old, something new, and we start off with Beta Ray Bill returning back to Asgard holding a unconscious Thor, and they're both pretty beat up and worse for the wear. They go to the medical area of Asgard, and they're being treated for all their battle wounds, and also some of the best mechanics or whatever are working on Bill. And I did not know until this is my first Beta Ray Bill story. I didn't know that he was bionic. Like I didn't realize he was organic and mechanical. So that's cool. So Odin visits his son, and Thor's upset about being disgraced and saying that, he's just going to leave Asgard. He's going to just wander, fly around the stars. He's not worthy of protecting Earth. He doesn't, he's not worthy of helping protect the Asgardians. And, Odin's like, calm down, dude. And then he goes to visit Beta Ray Bill, who's also recovering. And, Bill's upset. He's like, I won the hammer and I needed to protect my people. But, at the same time, I feel like, is there some time where someone else stronger than me can beat me and take it away? Is it truly mine? And Odin says, I think I have a solution, and it will be something equally powerful, but something that will have a lot of responsibility with it. And he's ominously backlit by suddenly blackened skies and lightning and the boom, thunder striking.
That did feel out of place.
Yeah. And then we get this awesome, is Odin disguised as a wanderer? Is that a typical thing that happens in the comics? I know it happened in the
mythology. Yeah.
Yeah, from time to time, but like this felt like very much like the desperado coming into town, like, but also like he kind of reminds me of Gandalf in this.
Yes,
Yeah, totally.
100%. 100%.
He looks like Gandalf, yeah.
But I love that he approaches these dried apple face looking little dwarf people, and he's like, "Hey, do you know any of you know Eitri?" And he's like, "Hey, Odin." He's like, "What?" We can feel your power from like 3 counties away.
Just strange wanderer here. Don't know who Odin is.
And so these people, they live in the mountains and they're the master craftsmen. So he wants them to craft a weapon for him. And they say, sure, but you have to do one thing for us. We have a big jerk here that wants to fight a woman. And if he beats her, she gets to be his wife and stay in a mountain forever. And if she beats him, then we'll craft this weapon for you. And he says, that's a great idea. And Bill and Thor are convalescing and talking a bit more about this whole thing. And where I like that Bill's kind of like, did you ever think about how Scartheim was very much like my home planet that I described to you as a furnace hot oven? And maybe your father picked that as a place to fight for a specific reason. And Thor's like, what, you figured my dad out already too? And so Sif's going to ride off and they're like, where's she going? And they explain she's gone to be this fighter. And there's this page I love where she's riding over these snowy mountains, and this giant dwarf, what do we call it? Troll-like person.
He's kind of like a giant dwarf, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Jumps out of nowhere and backhands her with a club on this big cliff, and this battle goes down, and it's pretty brutal. Then we cut away to Volstagg sitting on top of that young. The way you described him, Ryan, it reminded me of like. When the 12-year-old kid comes to town with like a 6-gun shaking, like, I'm here to fight the kid.
I'm here to fight you.
Like,
no, you're not.
And Volstagg's just sitting on, like, you don't want to do that, man. But he starts to explain Baldur's background. He explains that this is all straight from mythology. Like there was the only thing he was weakened by was, I think, hemlock or mistletoe. And they fashioned an arrow out of that, and Loki tricked someone into shooting it at him in these games, and it killed him, and he goes to the afterlife. So we're getting this whole cool just jumping back around different stuff, and then we jump back to that person at the Space Forge, which is still haunting and just gorgeous. And there's another doom. The storm is rising. Then we get a cutaway to Canada, Quebec, and there's a guy just eating who bought a food processor, and he's wondering, why the hell did I do that? And then a demon busts through the door.
And that's it. That's it. Like nothing else.
Meanwhile, we cut back to Sif and the creature fighting. She cocks it on top of the head with the broadside of the sword and knocks it out. So she has won. They have to craft this thing for Odin. And we get this nice moment where Sif has returned after her win, and she and Bill are talking, and she has developed feelings for him. And she reaches out to put her hand on his, and he kind of pulls it away. And Sif's in a world of hurt. She's just been wanting to fight and do something to get this. I'm assuming it's a Thor thing.
It's always a Thor thing.
Okay.
So, very, very like quickly before 337, Sif had, just a bit of context, everybody. Sif had gone to Midgard to try and basically be like, okay, I want to be with Thor. Thor wants to be on Midgard, so I'll try. It's like they're like, hey, what if we live together? Except the place where they live is Earth, and Sif kind of hates Midgard. Like, she doesn't hate the people, she just like doesn't. It's not her.
Yeah,
she is Asgardian as Asgardian can get, and she's like, I want to go home. So they essentially break up at the end, right before Simonson's run begins. And I just one thing, I do like this scene where Beta Ray Bill's like bearing his soul, and Sif's like, tries to like touch him, and Beta Ray Bill almost has like, no, don't want Thor's sloppy seconds.
Yeah.
he's just not interested. But yeah, there is that tension there between these characters, and you're like, okay, something's brewing. Like what we just talked about, Simonson planting the seed of something that we're gonna pay off later. So
cool. Then we get to see the dwarves' forge, and it is like the literal antithesis of what I thought it would be. I was picturing Lord of the Rings stuff, and lots of lava and lots of red and lots of heat and lots of heat waves, and it is not. It is a very modern, mechanized, and it's blue. It's like fusion heat instead of like fire lava heat, and so it's very interesting. So everybody comes, Bill, Thor, Odin, and they're all watching the because they have to be involved in these steps. It's very complicated to create this weapon. Odin has to do some magic at the same time. At critical times, Bill has to grab it at a critical time. Once it has, been released from the forge, he has to grab it with a gauntlet, and he does. And he says, "The power flows into me. I'm changing." And we get a one-page, awesome splash page that says, "Bada boom!" And he's holding it above his head. The enchantment is mine once more. He's fully in Asgardian garb. Love that. Mm-hmm. And so Odin's explaining that this one, no one can ever take this one away from you. This is yours, unlike Mjolnir. There's no, niggling over who owns it. And Thor gets back his hammer, and they have teamed up, and Thor has decided he's going to go to space with Bill to fight these demons off and protect his people. And Sif has said she's coming along too, and don't try to prevent her. So Thor summons this amazing carriage, chariot thing that takes him off into space on this exciting panel that says, "Next, though hell should bar the way." So Thor is saying, "Look to thy weapons, you demons. Up, tooth gnasher, up, tooth grinder. Pull for the stars. The foe awaits, and joyous battle is before us."
Ugh.
Great issue, man.
Han, Luke, and Leia heading off.
Yeah.
On the
right. The when you were mentioning the carriage, Matt, that is the inclusion of two characters that Marvel movie fans might be more familiar with from Love and Thunder. It's Tooth Gnasher and Tooth Grinder, who are pulling that carriage. And I love how Thor summons them. And he says, "Ho, Tooth Gnasher, ho, Tooth Grinder, leave your green pastures and answer your master's call. For we must travel fast and far, and only you can take us to our destiny." And from out of the thunder and lightning, Thor's call is answered. And then we get this hoof clapping down on the ground, and we get a kabaka-thoom.
Yeah, like great sound effects.
Well, you're just absolutely making shit up at this point.
But it works.
It totally works. Like, and all the sound effects feel meaningful in this, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of sound effects. But that was just one of those things. One of those characters that people might not know is included in this run of Thor is the goats.
Yeah, I forget. I guess that if you weren't really as familiar with Simonson's run, you might not know these guys all that well.
Right, yeah. Is there anything this is one of those like penultimate issues where like the big conflict we get next issue is kind of like what we've been charging towards, but like Stormbreaker, it's the first appearance of Stormbreaker. This hammer is going to become synonymous with Beta Ray Bill for decades. Do you guys have any other thoughts about like the forging, the fighting? I feel like this is a very Sif heavy issue. But any other thoughts before we head on to our final battle?
The forging sequence at the end, I think, is just amazing. All that kind of weird Kirby mountain science space stuff, and just all the steps, right? Like there's not enough metal to try this again. We have to get this right the first time, so the stakes are super high. And then now Lord Odin, before the mold is cooled, release the enchantment now. Like it's just all so exciting. I love it.
Yeah, but how it ends with that amazing splash page of Bill holding up Stormbreaker. That's a great blacklight poster right there that needs to happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. By the way, guys, this will be for people that have listened to both Across the Bifrost and the Bronze Age Monsters Son of Satan season. I feel like that needs to be a drinking game anytime you guys compare something to a blacklight poster.
Yeah, it's been suggested already. We just haven't got to play that voicemail.
Okay,
yet.
I was like that. I'm sitting there listening to him. I was like, they're talking about blacklight posters a lot.
We've already been called out on it.
Yeah. Oh, we love it, and yeah, we stand by it.
It's you're right though. This Beta Ray Bill splash page where he's in his full garb again, like that needs to be like a poster in the studio somewhere.
How is this not a t-shirt? Honestly,
right?
Needs to be something. But Let's get giddy up and get on to the last issue we're going to cover tonight. That is Thor 340. It is called "Though Hell Should Bar the Way."
Can I ask a quick question? How do you folks, again, this is like really my first Simonson stuff I've read, really in earnest. How do you describe him to people that ask what are reference points for his style, as far as a pencil or an ink or whatever?
You know, Matt, I was thinking about that, and I don't know. I mean, his style is very unique. I mean, I guess you could say maybe a rougher Alex Toth a little bit, maybe an Alex Toth with kind of a rougher line, I think is the closest that I could think of. And I know that Toth is was a big influence on Simonson. So I definitely think that ingredient is there. So yeah, I guess that's my shorthand, but his style is so unique.
Yeah. Like I see Grandinetti, but I might've been thinking Toth at the same time, but definitely some of those heavier, chunkier lines, but nothing feels heavy or chunky in the art. And it kind of reminds me of before Mignola was Mignola. You remember he was like a cover artist in like the mid to early 80s? Mm-hmm. Some of his stuff feels like he grew up reading Simonson, or not grew up, was a fan of Simonson right before he started drawing comics.
I think that's a good comparison because Mignola's stuff looks nothing like Hellboy. If you see like he would do pinups in like in Marvel Fanfare and stuff, I think is where I first saw Mignola's stuff. And yeah, he's almost a Simonson copyist in a lot of ways.
Yeah, his first few years, doesn't look anything like Mignola today. And he was, I think probably safe to say he's a Simonson clone. But I think I see some Dan Jurgens. I think he was influenced by Simonson as well. Something about the lines and the way that he does figure work reminds me of Dan Jurgens and some of that camp of those 90s people more.
I totally see the early Mignola stuff. Like when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, I can think back to like a few distinct panels where it like there's a Doctor Strange miniseries or a graphic novel that Mignola did called like something in Triumph or something like that, where he does a double page spread of Mephisto that feels very like Simonson Surtur. It's very, very similar. Early Mignola feels good. Anything that's really dramatic and epic, because like I feel like Simonson's obviously like comic book characters are meant to be larger than life. They're meant to be like, I've read the book, like Make Comics the Marvel Way, the Buscema book with Stan Lee, and the description of like what is a superhero supposed to be. Like, okay, that's great. Like if every Marvel comic up till now did that and made them larger than life, Simonson made them larger than legend. Because this like it's so dramatic, it's so big, it's so it punches you kind of in the face. And I don't know, it's kind of hard to ignore. His art is hard to ignore. Sorry, I don't have a better comparison than that.
No, that's great. I reading the first couple issues, I was like, I love it. I'm just groping for reference points, and I was having a hard time.
Yeah. But yeah, our last issue is going to have a lot of those dramatic, epic, artistic scenes. It is called "Though Hell Should Bar the Way." I love Simonson's issue titles because some of them feel like crazy epic, and then like later on they just get kind of weird. But he operates between like high fantasy, weird, epic, and then just like kind of weird. And I love it that this one's one of those like kick-ass titles. But we start off with Bill and Thor flying towards Beta Ray Bill's fleet. They're still trying to get away from these demons, and Sif is along the way, and Sif says like, oh, basically I will ride on. Odin said that only destroying the source of these demons can win the battle. She says, ride on, no wasting time. What little time we have, follow the demons home, and I will do what I must do. And so she stays behind and fights off the demons, like hundreds, thousands of them. Simonson doesn't even show the demons as individual demons. He shows them in a line.
At one point, they're a wave breaking over her.
Right.
So cool.
And, so they go. they go back to Beta Ray Bill's home planet, and they realize that the demons have created this portal out of his planet that they are streaming through, and they've got to destroy this portal or the demons are going to keep coming. And they overwhelm Thor and Beta Ray Bill. They keep on fighting. We get that forging interlude page where this mysterious figure is forging something, and the now common the doom that we get, and it's big and bold at the bottom of the page. And we a little bit of a narration box that's important here is we see in the as this creature is forging the weapon, we see this narration box that says, "In the depths of the earth, the monsters are waking." So something again is happening in this BC level of the plot. But then we jump back to Sif, and here was my favorite line, my favorite panel of the entire 4 issues, and it belongs to the lady Sif. When, like Matt referenced, the wave of demons are not individual demons. Don't think like she's fighting an army. She's fighting a natural disaster of demons coming at her. And she has the balls to say this line. She says, "Come, demons, who will be the first to taste this sweet steel?" Like, that is metal as hell.
Yeah, it is.
So good. And then because this army is coming against her, and she's like, "Hey, if I go out this way, I go out this way, whatever." And she hears from behind her, Scuttlebutt, Beta Ray Bill's ship, is come to help her fight off these demons to give Thor and Bill more time. We get a quick Volstagg interlude panel where he gives more of the story of what Balder did when he was in hell. And there's a line here where it says, "For there before him were the very warriors that he himself had slain and sent to Niflheim in battles past. This was the fruits of his many victories." Basically, that Balder, when he went to hell, he had to face all the people and the creatures he had fought and defeated, and that was his fruits of victory. I thought that was such a good little narrative device to let us know really what's going through Balder's head right now. We go back to Thor and Beta Ray Bill fighting, and they decide that the only way to destroy the portal is if they throw Mjolnir and they throw Stormbreaker at the same time. And then they throw them into this orange field, and then we get this big Baraka Doom, and that's all we see from them. As Sif is fighting alongside Scuttlebutt, Scuttlebutt's like, "Okay, I've got to defend, I've got to take out these demons, whatever it takes." So Scuttlebutt starts counting down for a self-destruct. And when the ship gets down to half of saying the word 1, all the demons start to disappear. And Sif is like, "Scuttlebutt, wait, the demons, they're disappearing." And we find out that Beta Ray Bill and Thor, their plan worked, and the demons are defeated. And then we get a few little wrap up scenes from this story where Loki and Lorelei, Amora the Enchantress's much more promiscuous sister, is they've got a plan where Lorelei is basically going to seduce Thor, and Loki says, she asks, "What reward will you get out of playing this game?" And Loki just says, "It will amuse me. It will amuse me greatly." So Loki's got some shit brewing. And then we see all our heroes return to Asgard for a big feast. Thor and Beta Ray Bill kind of debrief everything, and Sif and Odin have another conversation, and people are kind of uncertain about where we're going to go next. And then in the last few pages, there's a there's a consensus that Sif and Beta Ray Bill are going to go off, and they're going to kind of complete Beta Ray Bill's mission, and Thor is going to continue on doing his Thor stuff. And we, on the last page, We go back to a panel that Matt, referenced in his synopsis, where he's like, and then a demon just popped out of nowhere. We go back to the shore of Canada, and these two sailors are on the edge of a ship, and out of nowhere comes this giant claw and these tentacles, and we see this giant monster come over on top of the ship, destroy the ship, kill everybody aboard. It says, Odin, hear me, I have returned, and no one shall stay my vengeance. The life of your son is forfeit. Thor is mine. Next issue, the past is a bucket of ashes. And there's a little thing where they're trying to get us to come back. They say, stick around, folks, things are about to get a lot worse again. That's where we end this story. Yeah, Matt, what's up?
So the end of before that scene, you skipped over one that I thought was pretty important. When Odin gives an enchantment to Thor and Bill, and they're saying, I don't feel any different, and then he says, well, bang that stick on the ground, and Bill is turned back into himself, his pre surgery self, pre whatever. And so we realize that he took the enchantment from Thor, the Donald Blake enchantment, his mortal guise, and put that into Stormbreaker.
I'm sorry, my pages were stuck together and I completely skipped by that.
Ew,
thank you.
Gross.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Pass by.
He did not look like what I thought he would look like, by the way. I didn't know what I thought he would look like, but like Play-Doh face with pencil holes in it was not it.
Pencil holes.
Yeah, it's an interesting design, definitely. And Beta Ray Bill himself is shocked to be back. He's like, he just keeps saying, I'm myself again. And yeah, Stormbreaker has become a Kane. So he's got his own Lame Dr. Blake deal now.
So my question was, does the Donald Blake shtick not exist in the rest of this Simonson run? Like, did we get rid of that now?
They kind of get rid of it. Like there's another persona that he takes up. He takes up the persona of Sigurd Jarlsson.
Oh, I knew that somewhere.
And it's one of the aspects of Simonson's run that you probably are less familiar with, because it's basically Thor playing Midgardian. It's not like Midgardian who turns into Thor. It's Thor kind of pretending to be.
Well, he's a construction worker.
Yeah, he works construction, and like it gets weird.
But he puts on glasses like Clark Kent, and like thinking like maybe that'll help like blend in. I'll get a ponytail and some glasses, and that'll blend in.
Yeah, that makes him look. It makes the human meat mountain look real discreet. But
everyone just thought he was the Sentry.
Yeah.
Guys, we've reached the end of our Ballad of Beta Ray Bill. Any like final thoughts on this truly epic beginning of the Simonson saga that we're gonna be doing this year? Jacob, you want to give us kind of your final thoughts?
Well, I mean, like I said before, this is just one of the greatest runs of comics of all time. But even just in this last issue that we just did, my favorite panels are the one I think it's one of the last pages where Odin is drawn crazy, like he's all in yellows and whites and oranges. This is the remastered coloring though, and he kind of presents both Thor and Bill, and they're just kind of crossing, like Stormbreaker and Mjolnir, and saying, so speaks Odin. And it's the most like epic panel from that entire issue, and it's a very epic issue. But yeah, I just love how it all comes together in this, and that they were fighting, they were trying to figure out how both of them could fit in, how both of them could kind of be Thor. And yeah, it comes together so well at the end of this issue. I mean, I'm always going to love this run. It's always going to be one of the most important comics in my life and my childhood. And so I was just so happy we got to be here to talk about it.
Yeah, Bill and Thor.
Lacta.
Yeah,
Bill and Thor touch hammers. They're hammers. Yeah. Hammers touch.
It's so good.
You're on mute, Ryan.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
What were your thoughts, Will, on the
No,
four issues?
Well, I think again, like you guys mentioned before, that it's not like a clean 6 issues, 12 issues story arc. It's 4 issues, right? That nice. They're not writing to a trade as a part of the story. Like he told the story he wanted to tell, and it weaves in all these other threads that he hopes to do with the rest of the run, but still introduces a brand new character in an epic way. And I kind of miss that about comics these days. It's people are scared to create a new character within the big two because they're going to go on their own creative owned avenues to create their own characters because they don't want the big two to own it. But this, how like, hey, just get creative, let's tell a new story. I can't wait to do that. I'm just sitting on this for a long time, and boom, lays it all out. And yeah, the mix of Norse mythology with sci-fi and the storytelling, like we're getting ready to talk about the Daniel Warren Johnson's run on that graphic novel of Beta Ray Bill, and how much art's there and not as many words, but man, not only is it amazing art, but man, there's a lot of words on these pages. Those word balloons are big. Like he's telling a lot of story. They're talking a lot in these comics.
Matt, what I know you said multiple times that like this is kind of like one of your first exposures to this story, these characters on this kind of revamped scale. What are you walking out of these issues feeling and thinking?
I feel like since how long was his run on this book?
It's weird. It's not really as long as people might think. It was only around 445 issues.
Okay.
To put that in perspective, like Kirby and Stan Lee were over 100. Jason Aaron was over 100. Tom DeFalco and Ron Frenz were over 100 issues. Like Simonson's run is impactful, but it's not like the longest run ever.
Yeah. I just feel like I started hearing about this in the late 80s, probably after it kind of wrapped. It just already became legendary like immediately. And I've always heard wonderful things about it, effusive praise for it. And I just feel like it's literally 40 years old now. It feels as fresh and as vibrant as it probably did when it came out. And it's a masterpiece. I walked away from the first issue just thinking that was glorious, and I can't wait to read more of this. And I'm going to read the whole run. And people in history didn't let me down for once. They were all right. It's gorgeous.
And I reiterate and co-sign everything you guys said. Like this was such a fun thing to get to start to do, and I'm glad that you guys were able to join us for the pinnacle of like introducing a brand new character and making that character feel impactful and meaningful right off the bat. There's just so much more ahead of us, so much more to love. And we are going to continue kind of the Beta Ray Bill theme into next episode. Will and I have already mentioned we're going to be covering Daniel Warren Johnson's limited series that he did a few years back that really continues the spirit of Beta Ray Bill in his truest essence. So if you guys are looking for something else to continue your Beta Ray Bill kind of binge with, next week we're going to do that. But before we hop out of here, Matt, Jacob, anything about like Bronze Age Monsters you want to reiterate? How can people be reaching out to you guys and interacting with your show on the Son of Satan train?
We're on Instagram and Twitter at Bronze Age Monsters. Actually, on Twitter, it's Bronze Age Monst 1.
I love that so much. Bronze Age Monst 1.
I don't know. We do a weekly bonus show. This season, we're watching a 70s satanic movie every week and reviewing that in our bonus show. So we make that for our patrons. So if you check out the show and you enjoy it and you want some more of me and Jacob, we talk about movies, comics, books, other stuff as well, and as the satanic movie. So it's just drive-in schlock mostly. You can go to patreon.com/Bronze Age Monsters and find us there. And you're going to stick a link into our Libsyn feed or whatever so that people can find the show. But all the stuff's available on Marvel Unlimited, I believe, this season. So you don't need to go diving into long boxes or anything to find these issues. They're readily available on your device.
Yeah, and and we had over 100 episodes talking about, like you said earlier, Jack Russell, the Werewolf by Night, and John Jameson, Man-Wolf. And yeah, if anyone was a fan of Michael Giacchino's Werewolf by Night special on Disney Plus, which of course everyone should be a fan of because it's amazing,
incredible.
And yeah, if you wanted to get the original take on the character, check out the early Werewolf by Night issues. Those are also on Marvel Unlimited, and listen to our shows that go through those.
Yeah, we go through them issue by issue, and Jacob does a lot of research around the creators of each of those things. So it's a history lesson and it's a laugh at the same time. So we have fun with it.
And there's drinking games. There's inside jokes. It's honestly, it's a lot of fun. Everybody.
Public apologies for me almost every other episode.
That's right.
Or something I did, some gaffe.
Yeah.
I knew nothing about Werewolf by Night going into that show, and I have thoroughly enjoyed and loved every episode since. And I'm really excited to learn more about Damon Hellstrom, because also another character I just don't know that much about. I love listening to you guys. I love just hanging out with you guys. You're kind of like big brothers in the podcast game. So thank you very much. We do owe our recent Michael Giacchino interview to you guys. So thank you very much for that as well. That's been really well received, and just can't thank you guys enough for how awesome you are. So
you didn't Venmo that finder's fee, by the way.
Yeah, we're still expecting that.
Will, can you Venmo Matt some money?
Yeah, I'm gonna take money out of the listener prime Patreon money and buy 337 and send it to Jacob.
There you go.
There's not.
I mean, it's only fair.
There's not enough in there.
Yeah.
You might be able to get a page.
Yeah.
I was wondering, what does the first appearance of Stormbreaker go for? Like in a very fine near mint.
Or first appearance of Beta Ray Bill, like 337?
No, the 339.
Stormbreaker. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you said you didn't have first appearance of Bill or Stormbreaker.
I didn't even look at Stormbreaker because the local comic book store that I went and bought these at, I'm trying to collect as much of the Simonson run as I can as we're doing it, because I want to read it in single issues. But I didn't even look. They didn't even have a Thor 339. They had a Thor 337. And
how much were they?
North of $500.
North of 500. I saw there were some bids on eBay. On eBay, it was like $300 for the issue. But then there's some like graded copies too. They're a little higher, and then there are some less, like not as good quality for around $100. So who knows? We can find out.
I don't know if I need to be spending that, but
I'm getting Roy Thomas's one with the 3-hole punch.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
Of course, it's a must-have. It's a Grail comic.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you for getting me to read this. Finally, it's been something I've been meaning to do for 20-30 years, actually.
Dude, so I remembered last time when you were on and we did the What If Jane Foster Was Thor issue. You were like, I've never read Simonson, and I was like, well, that's gonna happen. And then when I knew how significant that first issue was for Jacob, I was like, well, I know who's going to cover Beta Ray Bill with us right off the bat.
Well, thank you.
So,
right.
You guys are awesome, and everybody, if you're still with us, you can help us out, support the show a few different ways. You can go join our Thor Corps on Patreon for a few bucks a month. You get bonus episodes. We will release early episodes really as soon as they're recorded. We'll hand them out to you, and you just get to support the show. We've got a great little community over there that's growing, inch by inch. Love all the people there that have supported us. We've actually had a few new supporters just in the last few weeks, and that's just it's fantastic to see you guys supporting us. It really does mean a lot to me. And also, you can go follow us at Mighty Thor Podcast on Instagram. Just hang out with us. I think we're gonna start getting some. I'm gonna try Discord. I'm gonna try it. I don't know. I know you guys use Discord. I don't know if I'm gonna be good at it, but I'm gonna try it.
Well, jump on ours, Ryan, and try it out for yourself. We've been wondering why you're not on there anyways, because it's
there's a few different podcasts that I've like really involved, in following, and they're like, why haven't you joined our Discord? I'm like, because I feel old and I don't want to like learn new technology.
But it's literally like a message board from the aughts. That's the great thing about it.
But I was 10 back then, man.
I know. I don't know why you're always the youngest one in the room on any of these podcasts. So I don't know why you say you're the old.
I know. One. I feel ancient though. But no, I will. So okay, I will go get a Discord lesson from you guys, and we'll maybe give that a shot in the next 2 weeks. But my Midwest goodbye is over. So and when. I've been doing them a lot lately. But everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed this first installment in the Simonson Saga. Come back next week for more Beta Ray Bill, and go check out Bronze Age Monsters and see what Matt and Jacob are up to over there. Until we see you next time aboard the Rainbow Bridge, remember to do one thing, everybody. Wherever you're at in the Nine Realms, whatever you're doing, just remember to stay worthy.
That was fun. Thank you.
Yeah, that was good. I think that's going to turn out well.